Money does wonders in this world, and people often spend money on stuff to play life on easy mode. So what would happen if we had an absurd amount of money in Fallout 4, but we were remarkably ungifted? Could you beat Fallout 4 with daddy's money? The rules for today are very easy, just like living life as a billionaire. I will give myself unlimited caps, but all my special stats will be set to 1, and I cannot use perk points to upgrade them. Only the bobbleheads around the map will be the main method for me to get higher levels of specials. As for armor and weapons, they are completely unrestricted, including power armor, and all I have to do to beat this challenge is beat the game. We are playing on hard difficulty today with only visual mods and a console command terminal installed. So now with the rules done, let's begin the run. Starting off this run, I made myself look like Ben Shapiro since that was meant to be the run today, but I changed my mind and then I named myself Bezos Baby, plus I lied on the form when making my special stats. The heir to my inheritance then demanded that I entertain them and I spoke to my prostitute who said, "My lord, can I please have some money?" But before I could respond, the world went bang.
Oh my god!
The stock market soon crashed and I sold all my stocks to cash in my inheritance. With this new fortune, I froze myself and my son, plus that promiscuous woman who claims to be my wife, to which I had her dispatched by a hitman so I could save money and cut back on the business expenses. However, the hitman also stole my son. Escaping my really expensive freezer, I took my lady's ring to give myself some more bling, and began to escape the vault. This was the first time in a while I could actually use both the 10mm pistol and the security baton, so it was easy and a standard escape. Soon I reached the Pip-Boy and set my special stats to 1. I also acquired my inheritance at this point. I mean, just listen to that money rain.
Here comes the money!
Here we go. Money talk.
After becoming the richest man alive and escaping the vault, I went to Concord and started to kill the raiders there because their lower levels and my OK gun made the outside very easy and I didn't face any extremely big issues. Inside the Museum of Freedom and Capitalism, it was much the same except I used the laser musket just a tad because why not, and it also one-shot the raiders so I enjoyed that. Soon I killed the last raider boy and fought off what remained of them on the top floor. Preston and I then had a quick chat and I popped myself into the power armor suit since I'm rich and I can do whatever the fuck I want and no one can stop me. With the new equipment and a machine gun to my name, the raiders stood about 0% chance of survival, and I also began to fight the Deathclaw. Compared to some previous runs and the creative methods I've used to kill the Deathclaw, this fight was much easier. I really just stood there holding left click and occasionally pushing 0 to heal myself if I was hit. Of course, after about 800 5mm bullets, the Deathclaw ceased to breathe and it died. Moving on from Concord, I made my way up to the Drumlin Diner. On the way, I purchased some random goods from Trashcan Carla, such as a few weapons, and I also got every single bullet she sold, plus some stim packs and other medical goodies. At the diner, I killed Wolfgang and Simone because Trudy definitely sells much better items, and as a rich person, killing for money is completely normal. I mean, just look at Nestle. Trudy then sold me whatever I wanted and I continued onward to Diamond City. On the way I shot down a Nuka-Cola Quantum and soon arrived at the Cambridge police station. At the station I blasted my way through all the ghouls with my newly acquired submachine gun and Molotov cocktails, so they basically stood no chance of breaching the compound. When the ghouls were dead, I spoke to Dance and after that I left Cambridge, continuing to Diamond City. Soon though I arrived at Diamond City and I spoke to Cricket out front, who had some great weapons, including of course the Spray and Pray, the submachine gun that deals explosive damage. With my even better arsenal, I entered Diamond City, this time through the elevator, so I could speak directly to the mayor's secretary. The reason I needed to chat with her was because the house in Diamond City was calling my name. 2,000 caps is pretty much a chump change price for me, and if anything it's worth wiping my ass with. So I purchased that humble abode and proceeded to speak with every single vendor and buy literally every item they sold. I started with Arturo since guns equal life. After I bought Myrna's stock, which sent me back a cool 70,000 caps, who knows what she's selling, and I also spoke to Mo and bought a bunch of useless baseball bats and all the medical supplies from the doctors plus the now legalized drug dealer. With my new copious amounts of wealth, I set off on a trip to get Nick Valentine, but I also did a quick pit stop at the Boston Library. The reason I did this was to get the intelligence bobblehead so I could increase my intelligence by 1. The bobblehead was really easy to get. I literally walked in, grabbed it, and once I had the bobblehead, a bunch of super mutants raided the public library and I began my defense. The defense went very well, with me clearing large numbers of mutated scum until they killed me. 2 times actually. Soon though, I had protected the first room and I began to clear what remained of the mutants inside the library and also at the subway connector. I pretty much just pelted grenades at them until every living thing besides myself was not breathing. Soon I reached Park Street Station and I began dealing with the Triggermen. For the first room, I used the combat shotty since all the enemies were in a close quarters situation, making the shotgun extremely strong. Further into the station, I used the hunting rifle I acquired to pick off some of the Triggermen, before I switched weapons and continued to lay fire into them until I died. I of course didn't stay dead for long, so I respawned and zapped up what remained of the Triggermen in this main area of the train station. Once I entered the vault, I was still using the zappy gun to kill the Triggermen since it dealt double damage on the first shot, and that was enough to kill pretty much all the Triggermen in one tap. Not to mention 36 ammo capacity is way more than enough to wipe out the largest groups of even the tankiest Triggermen. Soon I reached Dino and I ambushed him with my shotgun CS2 style, so he stood no chance of surviving. I then spoke to Nick and began the Great Escape. On the way out, I was using my laser pistol and just obliterating everything that moved. Skinny Malone faced a very similar fate to all the Triggermen inside of his vault, as I shot his 2 slaves and killed them very fast. Nick then showed his alpha male dominance when he just fucking whacked Darla in the face, and I delivered just treatment to Skinny, just as all the previous Triggermen had received. After I saved Nicholas's ass, I made my way to the best neighborhood of Good Neighbor. I started off by killing one of the locals and then buying Cleo's whole stock of ammo and also her missile launcher. While I was on my shopping spree, I also thought let's go back 1,000 or so years, and I purchased the first white slave to ever exist, MacCready, for a very pathetic amount of 250 caps, and he is now in service to me till the end of time. Following that, I took my slave over to Cambridge Police Station and I spoke to Dance to help him at ArcJet. On the way, I used my newly acquired missile launcher to kill some people before they even knew what happened. That must be what it feels like to be a terrorist against the US military. Soon we arrived at ArcJet and I pew-pewed some of the synths there. I then defended Dance instead of just burning him to a crisp. I didn't know it was even possible to defend him, as I always thought that rocket engine was the only way. Guess I was wrong. Finally, I destroyed what remained of the synths on the top floor, grabbed the deep range transmitter, and I left with Paladin Dance. Now that I was sufficiently sidetracked, I returned to Nick Valentine and I discussed the case of my son's kidnapping. I then robbed the mayor because he didn't accept my bribe, and I looted Kellogg's home to find some clues. Of course, it didn't take much time since I am rich and I can just buy whatever I wanted, so there was no point and no real reason to steal from all these povos. On the way to Fort Hagen, I tried to run a rocket engine, which ended in my death, since 300 years of stagnation did kinda ruin it. Arriving at Fort Hagen, I of course started by exploding all the turrets. Inside the fort, I started to destroy all the synths, which was easy with my laser gun. The first group of synths were easy enough and didn't really come close to killing me thanks to my armor, which when I was near death would slow down time. As for the second level of synths, well, it went much the same. All the synths were fairly easy to kill and I just used a mix of my shotgun and also the laser pistol to get through the level. Finally, I reached Kellogg, and no, I'm not talking about the cornflakes. The wannabe box of cereal did lead to my death a few times, however I soon popped some jet and used my shotgun to obliterate his face before you could actually call him a fuckface. 8 shots later, he was dead, and I switched my attention to his 2 synth comrades who faced a very similar fate to Kellogg. I then looted his corpse for all of his brain matter. Back at Diamond City, I spoke to Nicholas and Piper about everything I knew and returned to the Memory Lounger. At the Lounger, I spoke to Dr. Amari and I gave her Kellogg's mind. Amari then hooked me into her machines and I witnessed all of Kellogg's memory. With the new information I acquired, I set out to find Vegetable Virgil. On the way, I killed off his kind by using a whole plethora of weapons. Funny enough, I didn't die despite being really close to death quite a few times. Continuing on, I killed 2 completely innocent people just because I can, and I soon reached the edge of the glowing sea. Now let's play a very quick game. Guess what I'm going to do next. if you guessed I'm flying to the Pridwin, you would be correct. Aboard the hot air balloon, I watched Elder Maxon do his big Commonwealth save the speech to his cultist, and as a rich person who never really worked a day in my life, I of course was very eager to join his cult, and was personally indoctrinated by their leader. Maxon then sent me to go chat up all of the proctors. I started with Ingram and her disabled body, I then spoke to the shopkeeper, and while I was at it, I teleported behind him for a quick robbery. Following that, I did my medical exam.
Well, there was this one really ugly girl in college. I mean, I had to get drunk, and it was a dare, and ugh.
And I spoke to the final Brotherhood proctor, who I forget the name of. I then took my suit of power armor and I put the XO1 helmet on it that I had just stolen out of the Brotherhood ship. With my new vehicle, I made my way into the glowing sea. While I was in the sea, I killed some wolverines which were disguised as feral ghouls since they could regenerate at a crazy rate. I then had a fight with the Deathclaw which went very well since I had a whole lot of bullets. I mainly used the spray and pray because I could stagger the crap out of the Deathclaw, so I almost had a 0 chance to hit me. Another Deathclaw also decided to show up to my mincer. I of course proceeded to mince that Deathclaw as well. With death delivered to all the Deathclaws, I moved on to the Children of Atom. First of all, I interrogated their leader, and then I bought some supplies, and I hit what used to be the road. Soon I arrived at Virgil's private domicile and killed yet another Deathclaw. Honestly, it just is not fair for them right now. I may even drive these fuckers to extinction the way that I'm going. With another Deathclaw dead, I spoke to Vegetable Virgil about getting access to the Institute, and he said go kill a Corsair. As a quick side note, before I went to Green Tech Genetics, I did get a Gatling laser for a few reasons, and the main one is I've always wanted to use it but never had enough fusion cores. To get the weapon, I stole it from a knight who I ejected from his power armor by stealing his fusion core. I then used a sneak attack to kill him, and I took his weapon, which left all the Brotherhood members completely passive with me and gave me one of the best guns in the entire game. Now with my arsenal even larger, I began the attack on Green Tech Genetics to reach the Corsair. I used the Gatling laser through him mostly because I could kill the gunners fairly quickly. On top of this, I was in power armor, so unless there was a cluster of 5 or 6 gunners, it was very hard if not impossible to damage me or kill me, especially since the set was still at a max durability. I then got revenge on the missile gunner who has caused me so much pain by giving him a taste of his medicine and shooting him with my own missile launcher. With a whole family of gunners dead, I reached the Corsair, who was funny enough extremely tanky. Not only did he withstand a whole flurry of attacks from my laser minigun, but he also stood up through a missile launcher blast and a whole lot of shotgun shots to the body and also the sky. I only finally killed him after I switched to the good old amazing OP laser pistol and activated my gamer level aim and eviscerated what remained of him. Now with the Corsair chip in my possession, I went to the Railroad HQ and had Tinker Tom analyze the chip. To show my gratitude for all of his hard work and the Railroad's trust in me, I killed them all. I killed absolutely everyone.
And not just the men, but the women. And the children too.
And they had no chance of stopping me as I slaughtered everything that ever breathed within those catacombs. Soon all the members were dead, which was both fun and practical, because I wouldn't need to come back and kill the losers again. Now with the data in my possession, I returned to Elder Maxon, who said, well yeah, the Institute is super important and all, but like there are some ugly mutants I want dead, pretty please. So I went over to Fort Strong, emerging from the water like a sea monster, and killing everything by just shooting in their general direction. I then had to face the behemoth, and I was able to eventually kill it, after laying consistent fire from my Gatling laser for a very long time. I mean a very long time. I didn't realize how much perks mattered till now, so it took very long to kill him, because I didn't have any of the correct perks that would increase my damage with the laser minigun. The behemoth had also destroyed my suit of power armor pretty much completely, so I was forced to ditch it before moving further into the fort. Inside the fort, I used the semi-auto shotgun for the majority since it was decent and could kill the mutants pretty quickly and efficiently. I then continued my trend of killing missile launching enemies with my missile launcher, and I proceeded to wipe out everything that remained inside of the fort. Normal mutants and especially their annoying mutt dogs. Back at the airport, I built the Signal Interceptor, which was quite easy since I just bought any materials I was missing from any vendor I saw. I literally could just buy their stock, so what more needs to be said? With the Interceptor built and in action, I stepped in and got whizzed right into the Institute. Inside, I spoke to the father of the Institute, who was quite rich, but I of course was richer. I also spoke to Madison Lee, who I needed to recruit for Brotherhood purposes. To get her to come with me, I had to discover what happened to Virgil. Inside the shut down section of the Institute, I shot down some of the turrets, and I also had to deal with the Assaultron, which was not too difficult since I'm stacked to a T with weapons and armor, so it stood about a 0 chance. After that, I grabbed the serum and the evidence of the Institute's corruption. With the evidence in hand, I returned to Madison Lee and showed her the damning evidence, to which she agreed to escape the Institute and flee to the Brotherhood. To keep up my appearance, I also spoke to the other 2 heads, which included Justin Ao, plus that bioscience guy that no one cares about. Continuing Fallout 4, the chatting edition, I returned to the Brotherhood and spoke to Proctor Ingram, who then told me to speak to Elder Maxon, who then told me to have another chat with Proctor Ingram, who then told me to have a chat with Madison Lee because she was being a wuss, and finally I spoke to Ingram another time. I think I spent probably 13 minutes running around and just chatting to people. Very, very nice part and very fun part of the story. Ingram and also Madison Lee then sent me away to get a magnet for them, which I purchased from Myrna in Diamond City. Returning with 5 magnets total, I built 5 actuators instead of 4, because how would Liberty Prime reproduce without the liberty to move his penis? Now that Liberty Prime can move all essential parts of his body, I went to get some weapons from the Glowing Sea. First, I spoke to Scribe Halen, who debriefed me on the whole ordeal and what needed to be done. After that, I went through the Glowing Sea once again. I did get very lucky since not a single thing tried to kill me, which has to be some type of record. I soon reached the ancient tomb of Tutankhamun, which is of course a military base, because hey, it wouldn't be a top secret base unless it blended in with the surroundings, so why not in the middle of America make a massive pyramid? It's of course just a domestic office. If anything, it's probably just a preschool if we're being fully realistic. Inside though, I killed some mole rats and wannabe zombies. There were a few waves of ghouls, but honestly they were still a cakewalk. Further in, I delivered Atom's judgment to the children of Atom and his robot buddy, who were just camping down in the base for the funsies. Guess that a mysterious god can't save you from a 2000-degree laser. Finally, I attached the locator on the massive stash of mini nukes, and then I left the totally very hidden and not very obvious military base. Back at the Pridwin, I spoke to Elder Maxon, who told me that Dance was a synth, and then proceeded to berate me and call me names such as traitor. I of course protested my rich innocence and pure cult indoctrination. Scribe Halen then tried to convince me to help save that fucking disgusting piece of machinery, Paladin Dance. I pretty much said to her, oh, your opinion's completely invalid, and haha no. Inside of Dance's little bunker, I shot up all of his security, which I guess the shooting up is a bit of foreshadowing. Now it is not really foreshadowing. Bye bye Paladin Dance, but I won't miss you since I can just buy more friends.
My money don't jiggle jiggle, it folds.
Would like to see you wiggle wiggle, for sure. Back on the Pridwin though, I spoke to Elder Maxon, who promoted me to the rank of Paladin, and we went for a drive to a town we like to call Maxon Town. The Elder plus all of his loyal members stayed here, and we decided to take some Kool-Aid. Oh wait, that was just a dream, my bad. Now, with Danstead and myself really indoctrinated into the Brotherhood cult, it was time to get the Beryllium Agitator and power Liberty Prime. At Mass Fusion, I sprayed all the synths with bullets and money from the sky. The pilot then said toodles, and myself plus Ingram killed off what remained of the synths on the roof. If we're gonna be fully realistic here, the synths are not a large problem, and even on the way down in the elevator, they pretty much did no damage or were very easy to kill. Now, I also will say I lost a little bit of footage here, so let's just watch Mr. Krabs throw some money around while I tell you what happened. First, I grabbed the agitator, and then I played CS2 for 3 hours. And then I came back to have my ass handed to me by a sentry bot. Now with the footage that I actually have, I killed the sentry bot first try, despite dying to it 9 times before, but that's completely negligible. The sentry bot was one thick bitch who could pack a real punch. I had to use just about every weapon I owned to kill it, from a laser minigun to my missile launcher and a whole plethora of different chems. I guess no machines can stop me during a drug-heavy madman session. As for the Assaultrons, they faced a similar fate of being zapped to dust while I was extremely high. They also stood no chance, since drugs are all powerful. Some extra synths also tried to ambush some of the soldiers which I was with, but I protected them since I'm a devout cultist and I needed to protect every single fellow cult member. Once again though, these synths were not super tough. Now with the agitator in hand, I pushed it into Liberty Prime and powered him up. With Liberty Prime on the move, I of course 100% totally followed him all the way to the CIT ruins, since why would I fast travel and cut my time by 30 minutes? It'd be super useless and make no sense. At the Institute, Prime delivered democracy to the sand and soil which stood above the communists below. The whole 4 members of the Brotherhoods then entered the Institute and pushed through the shantytown. With Automaxon at my side, this fight wasn't hard considering we had Gatling lasers, and his plus mine and a powered armor extra knight allowed us to steamroll everything. Inside Bioscience though, it was pretty much the same with a one-sided massacre at the receiving end for our enemies. No one was spared, even the gorillas were killed. Maybe to make some tortillas. Get it? It kind of rhymes. Inside of the main atrium, I died. I then revived using my money and delivered death to all those who had wronged me before. Following that, I killed my father before he could talk, and I lifted the lockdown. It was now time for my final epic showdown between myself and the Institute. To begin with, I used the missile launcher to kill some of the enemies, mainly because it's cool and also dealt splash damage to me. Trying again, I just abused the Gatling laser on everything, especially the scientists who died in seconds to it. Even the legendary synth stood no chance against this absolutely shredder of a weapon. I then placed the bomb on the reactor and exploded the Institute, proving yes, you can beat Fallout 4 with daddy's money. I guess that actually does answer our question. We already know money can buy stuff like friends and maybe even happiness, but I'm sure we have all wondered, what about Fallout? But now we know the answer. Overall today the run was actually easy. I didn't die too much besides to that sentry bot, and if I'm being fully honest, the only thing that made the run easy was the caps. I could just buy an absurd amount of stim packs, drugs, ammo, weapons, whatever the hell I wanted, and it pretty much allowed me to have over 50 stim packs until the end of the game. I did of course enjoy this run, but I hated typing this script since at school right now it's exam time, and boy I have stared at a lot of blank Google Docs. Now if you did enjoy this video, please subscribe since only 4 people did last month and I'm so depressed because of it, since these videos take me about 10 days or so to make of full active effort. Now if you did subscribe though, thank you very much and thanks for watching, plus I hope to see you in the next one. And as a rich person, killing for money is completely normal. I mean, just look at Nestle.